I'd like to welcome you all to the Wisdom of Wrench podcast. My name's Kevin Comerford, and as you can tell, we got a little bit different setup today. I've got Andrew on the other side of the camera, who is my faithful companion, who's going to be working the room and working the camera at different angles, so just excuse us. You're going to get a real inside look as to what the studio looks like. Lots of cords, lots of fun stuff, a little bit different than the pretty little setup that we normally have. And to me, that's what makes this session so special. The very last podcast, we talked about what the F is wrong with us. And I shared in that podcast what I was referring to about our society, that we are a high-performance society, low coping, meaning our ability to be able to manage our emotions through our thoughts and our behaviors is really lacking. That's what low coping means. I mentioned in that podcast some unhealthy coping mechanisms, and I'd strongly encourage you to go back and read that or watch that and subscribe while you're there. That'd be great. We'd love that. And in that podcast, I also talked about more than two, but very important healthy coping habits, two of which I'm going to spend time sharing with you today that I do on a regular basis. Before I do that, though, you may be wondering, why in the world is Kevin teaching a class or having a podcast on coping habits, and why is he on the ground stretching and breathing? And it really has to do with this book here called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. Now, Jeff Olson in this book talks about what the title of this podcast is, which is Do the Thing and You Shall Have the Power. And the thing today is the breathing and the stretching. And he talks about how a lot of times we wait to have the power, we wait to have the motivation, we wait to have the courage, we wait to have the money, and then we think that's when we do the thing. But the exact opposite is true. You do the thing and you have the power. So the thing today that we're going to be focusing on, and like I said, is two things: breathing and stretching. I'm a big believer in stretching, and when we get into that, we're going to have some music in the background. We're also going to have some music a little bit that I like to have in the background when we're breathing. I'd encourage you to watch this episode on YouTube. At the same token, I know many of you out there watch this in your vehicles. You watch this in your truck. So I'm going to do everything I can to explain what I'm doing so that you can breathe, certainly breathe, before you go into that next call. You might be able to even do some of these stretching routines, these stretching exercises in your vehicle, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So again, ideally, watch this on YouTube. Take some time to do some self-care, which is so very important when it comes to coping. I count these two things, breathing and stretching. These are self-care that Kevin regularly does for himself. Okay? So let's get going on the breathing. The first healthy coping technique that we're going to work on, or habit that we're going to work on, is breathing. And I want to teach you two different breathing techniques so that you have some options. I like to interchange. Sometimes I like to use the first one. Other times I like to use the second. Just depends on how I feel. The first one is called Double Your Pleasure. And the second one is something that Navy SEALs and the military uses quite often, which is called box breathing. So let's go back to number 1, which is called double your pleasure. I find this is a great breathing technique to use if I'm laying in bed and I'm struggling to fall asleep, if I'm finishing up with a workout routine and I want to transition into something else, I'll do this breathing exercise. If I'm getting ready to go into a meeting, a big meeting, either double your pleasure or box breathing is great to do. When I'm nervous, when I'm anxious, when I'm frustrated, such a powerful thing to do, to take the time to do that self-care. So the way that double your pleasure works is it is what's called diaphragmatic breathing. So what I want to look to push out my belly when I breathe. Okay? And I want to look to inhale through my nose. So this first breathing technique is all done through your nose. You can keep your mouth closed on both the inhale and the exhale. It's only done through the nose. And what you do is you inhale to a count of 4. And you exhale double to a count of 8. So hence double your pleasure. As you do this more and more, you can inhale to a count of 5, exhale 10, inhale 7, exhale 14. When you get really good at this, you literally can inhale to 15 and exhale to a count of 30. Now, will you be able to do that day 1? No. And that's okay. Was I able to do it? No. Let's start simple. Let's start small. Some of you might find that even doing 4 inhale, 8 exhale is difficult. If it is, start with 3 and 6. 1, 2, 3, inhale. Exhale. Let's do it again. Inhale 4, exhale 8. Once again, inhale 4, exhale 8. Let's do it one more time. This time I'm going to inhale to 5, exhale 10. So towards the end there, I struggled a little bit to get out. I was really pushing, almost bending, leaning into my stomach to continue to exhale, getting the air out of my diaphragm to get the 8th and 9th and 10th second still be an exhale. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. What I've learned is that the deeper your exhale, the greater your inhale. So if you can exhale deep, if you want to be able to take more air in, make your exhale greater. I learned that from a fitness coach and probably 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and it works. If I'm struggling, if I just get off a run or something and I'm having difficulty taking air in and I just need to catch my breath, He always said, make your exhale greater and you'll be able to take more inhale, you'll be able to take more air in. I'm like, it's genius. Makes absolute sense. So let's do 3 more rounds of this and then we'll put double your pleasure away. Okay? And be done with it. We're gonna go 4 on the inhale, 8 on the exhale. Here we go. Last thing I'd like to share about double your pleasure is the importance of this taking place only through your nose, through your nostrils, both the inhale and the exhale. The second breathing technique I'd like to talk about, that again, many in the Special Forces use regularly, is called the box technique. And it works just like a box, okay? We're gonna inhale to a count of 4. Ready? Then we're gonna hold to a count of 4. We're then going to exhale to a count of 4. And now we're going to hold without taking a breath to a count of 4. That's the box. And then we're going to repeat it multiple times. Inhale to a count of 4. Hold to a count of 4. Exhale to a count of 4. Now hold to a count of 4. And you repeat that multiple times. 5, 6. You can create 6 boxes if you want. If you're going into a meeting, I would highly encourage, or a stressful situation, I would highly encourage for you to look to get at least 5 boxes in. Powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. Before we do podcasts, Andrew and I will do a box routine. Super, super helpful to just get myself centered, to get myself calm. What I want to stress, which is probably the most difficult, is when I inhale here to 5 or 4, whatever it is. If it's 3, maybe when you're starting, it could be 3, 3, 3, 3. Inhale, I'm gonna use the example of 4. Inhale 4. Hold 4. Exhale 4. So now this is the most difficult. Right now I'm sitting there with no air in my belly. Hold that for 4. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold without any air in your system for 4. Inhale for 4. I'm going to do a couple of them. Exhale for 4. I messed up. Inhale for 4. Hold for 4. Exhale for 4. Hold 4 with no air in. See? I mess up. And when you mess up, you just start again. The importance is continuing that box. 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5. See if you can work your way up. What you will find as you become better, as you do this more and you practice this more, you'll be able to make it to 8, 8, 8, 8. 8 sides of the box, 8 counts. 9. I challenge you to work on this and practice this. And I think what you'll find is that you can dynamically improve your breathing techniques, and just your overall well-being. Because what I've learned is when I'm anxious, there's actually something chemical going on inside of me where my body is receiving an insufficient amount of oxygen. So that actual feeling that I get when I'm anxious is actually a physical feeling. It's not just a mental feeling, it's physical because my body is lacking oxygen. So getting oxygen to my system is what's so important when it's time to perform, when it's time to think, because I naturally, when I'm nervous, begin to slow down my breathing and take short breaths. That's why it's so important to stretch those out and get your body the oxygen that it needs. So those are the 2 breathing techniques we wanted to talk about today. Double your pleasure in the very, very famous box breathing. We're going to be right back here in just a second and work through some stretching. We'll be back.